Have you ever wondered why some men seem to hold a mysterious power over women, while others spend their lives chasing attention that slips through their fingers? Why is it that a single man can walk into a room and every woman's gaze follows him, while another could beg for years and never be truly desired? The answer, brother, lies not in luck, not in charm, but in a deeper understanding of vulnerabilities so ingrained in female psychology that they are etched into their very DNA. And what if I told you that centuries ago? The master of strategy himself, Machiavelli, understood these weaknesses and would have used them to dominate the modern game of attraction. Would you want to know what those 9 weaknesses are? The ones that can make a woman not only crave your attention, but fight to keep it? This is not about petty tricks or surface-level charm. It's about learning to master the hidden levers of female psychology. The truth is, women are not the mysterious puzzle that most men think they are. They are driven by instincts, emotions, and patterns that repeat endlessly across cultures and time. And when you understand these patterns, you stop being the man who begs for scraps of attention. You become the man who controls the entire feast. Let's begin with the first vulnerability, one that you see every single day, but have never understood how to use. A woman aesthete. Almost chemical addiction to validation. Have you ever noticed how much time women spend perfecting a single photo before posting it on Instagram? How many retakes they do, how they adjust the lighting, tilt their head, adjust their pose, only to spend the next hour obsessively refreshing the screen, waiting for likes and comments to pour in. That isn't random behavior, my brother. That is addiction in its purest form. Neuroscientists have proven that every time she receives a like, every time someone comments, every time a compliment is directed her way, her brain lights up the same way it would if she had taken a hit of a drug. Dopamine, serotonin, those little chemical messengers flood her bloodstream, and she feels high. This is why validation is her greatest weakness, but also the trap where most men destroy themselves. Men hand it out like it's candy. They comment beautiful on every photo. They heart react instantly. They flutter with attention as though she were starving for it. But here's the truth. She's not starving. She's already drowning in validation. She gets it from social media, from strangers, from men who have no self-control. And so, when you join that endless chorus of thirsty approval, you don't stand out to blend in. You become background noise. And worst of all, you become predictable. Predictability is the death of attraction. So what's the Machiavellian strategy here? You become the dealer of her favorite drug, but you control the dosage. You hold the supply. When she posts that photo craving validation, you don't rush to be the first like. You let her wait. When she shares an achievement, you don't flutter with praise. You give her a measured response, maybe even indifference. That's interesting, you say, and move on. Why? Because you are creating scarcity. And what is scarce, brother, is always more valuable. When you finally decide to give her validation as simple, you look incredible. It will carry more weight than 100 empty comments from other men. You've transformed ordinary attention into pure gold. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement. It's the same principle that keeps gamblers hooked on slot machines, the same reason casinos make billions. If a reward is predictable, it becomes boring. If it is unpredictable, it becomes addictive. And when you become the source of unpredictable, high-value validation, she won't just want it, she'll crave it. But here's the danger. Once you master this first weakness, you will begin to notice something startling. Women will start behaving differently around you. They will angle for your attention. Check to see if you notice them. Work harder to impress you. They'll test your limits, waiting, craving, hoping for that next drop of recognition. And while this might feel like the peak of power, it's only the beginning. Because the second vulnerability Machiavelli identified is even more potent. It's the one that makes a woman stay up at night, scrolling her phone, waiting for a reply. It's the one that drives her crazy with obsession. It's uncertainty. Let me ask you, have you ever noticed how women obsess over men who treat them poorly? Men who disappear for days, who don't answer immediately, who seem almost careless? Most men think this is some kind of cruel magic, but it's not. It's biology. The female brain is designed to be attracted to the unpredictable, to what it cannot fully control. Why? Because throughout history, the man who was unpredictable was often the strongest, the most dominant, the one who could best protect her. Predictability signaled weakness. Unpredictability signaled danger and power. This is why predictability kills attraction. When you always text back immediately, when you plan dates in the same way, when you reveal every detail of your life, you become safe, but not desirable. You become the steady background music she tunes out. But when you introduce uncertainty, when she can't predict your next move, her brain stays activated. She wonders, when will he reply? Where will he take me? What is he really doing? And this wondering, this tension, creates obsession. So how do you use this Machiavellian weapon? First, break your patterns. If you usually reply within 5 minutes, sometimes take 2 hours. If you always plan romantic dinners, suddenly suggest something unexpected and bold. Second, limit the information you reveal. Instead of explaining your entire day, give her fragments. It was interesting, you say, and leave her imagination to do the rest. Her imagination, brother, will always be wilder than your reality. Third, use absence strategically. Disappear unpredictably. Not for days that suggest disinterest, but just enough to create that itch in her mind. Then return as if nothing happened. A simple hey after silence can be more powerful than 1,000 good morning texts. Now, I want you to imagine this. She's lying in bed, scrolling through her phone, staring at your chat window. She saw you online an hour ago, but you didn't reply. She refreshes Instagram. Did you like anyone's photo? Did you post something new? Her mind starts to spiral. She's imagining scenarios, wondering what you're doing, who you're with. And in that state of uncertainty, you've taken control of her emotions. She's no longer in command. And here's where Machiavelli would smile, because once you master uncertainty, you've already separated yourself from 95% of men. But the third vulnerability, when combined with the first two, becomes devastating. It's the emotional mirror. Have you ever noticed how deeply women crave to be understood? It's why they vent for hours to their friends, why they overanalyze every detail. They don't always want solutions, they want resonance. And when you can reflect their emotions back to them more clearly than they can express them, you create an almost supernatural bond. Here's how it works. When she's upset, most men do one of two things. They either ignore her, hoping it will pass, or they try to fix it immediately. Both are fatal mistakes. What you do instead is watch, listen, and then reflect. You see her body language, her quiet tone, her tension, and you say, you feel like no one is listening to what you really need, don't you? Her eyes widen. Exactly, she says. Because you've done something few men ever do. You've named her unspoken emotion. And in that moment, her brain releases oxytocin, the bonding chemical, directly into her bloodstream. She feels seen. She feels understood. That, brother, is a drug stronger than any validation or uncertainty. But you don't stop there. Because once you've created that deep emotional mirror, you trigger her most primal fear. Replacement. This fear is ancient. In primitive times, if a man abandoned a woman for another, her survival was at risk. She and her children could starve. That instinct still lingers in her DNA, buried but powerful. And when you subtly awaken it, she will cling to you like nothing else. Notice the word subtly. You don't flaunt other women in her face. That's amateur. You simply drop hints of a life she doesn't fully control. A vague mention of plans with friends. A mysterious smile when you receive a message you don't explain. You let her imagination spiral. Suddenly, she feels the threat of replacement. Combined with the emotional mirror, this creates a powerful storm. She feels deeply connected to you, but terrified of losing you. That tension keeps her hooked. So far, we've covered validation, uncertainty, emotional mirrors, and the fear of replacement. But the fifth vulnerability goes even deeper, her desperate need for emotional security. And this is where men make their biggest mistakes. They think women want protection from the outside world. No, brother. They want protection from themselves, from their own emotional storms, from the chaos of their feelings. Imagine this. She's crying, yelling, consumed by drama. Most men crumble. They panic, apologize, beg, or try desperately to fix things. And in doing so, they lose her respect. But you become the rock in her storm. You lower your voice. You relax your body. You look her in the eyes and say, I know you're hurting. I'm here. That's it. No panic. No begging. No loss of control. And instantly her storm begins to calm, because her brain registers. This man can handle me at my worst. If he can handle this, he can handle anything. That, brother, is true emotional security. And this is where we pause, because we've only just begun. We've walked through the addiction to validation, the obsession of uncertainty, the irresistible bond of emotional mirrors, the primal terror of replacement, and the magnetic calm of emotional security. These are only the first 5 vulnerabilities Machiavelli would have weaponized. But there are still 4 more, each more dangerous, each more powerful. The kind that can separate ordinary men from those who possess an absolutely magnetic, irresistible aura. And when you master the final one, the 9th, you will never look at women the same way again. Because it will show you that the true power and attraction is not about controlling her it's about mastering yourself. Let me ask you a question, brother. Have you ever noticed how a woman's attraction can shift in an instant? One moment she's warm, affectionate, giving you her full attention, and the next, she's distant, distracted, looking at you as though something inside her has changed. Most men are blindsided by this shift. They think it's random or that she's simply moody. But it's not random at all. It's triggered by something deep within her psychology, something tied to her instincts, her primal drives, and her unshakable perception of you as a man. And when you understand the last 4 vulnerabilities Machiavelli would have used, you stop being blindsided by those shifts. You begin to orchestrate them. You become the man she cannot escape, no matter how much she tries. The 6th vulnerability is one that most men dismiss or misunderstand: her extreme sensitivity to social status. And when I say status, you might immediately think of money, cars, luxury brands, or celebrity fame. While those things can signal status, they are only the surface. True status is something far deeper. It's the invisible aura of power, authority, and respect that some men project without saying a single word. Women are wired to detect it instantly. Watch how a waiter treats a man. Watch how other men greet him. Watch the energy shift when he enters a room. Women see all of this, and in seconds, their instincts make a judgment. High status or low status, powerful or forgettable. And once that judgment is made, attraction rises or dies on the spot. Most men think they can fake this. They pretend confidence. They flash money. They speak loudly to prove themselves. But here's the Machiavellian truth. Fake status always collapses under pressure. Real status is built from presence. It's in the way you walk, the calmness in your voice, the way you hold eye contact without blinking, the way you never apologize for taking up space. A man with status doesn't need to convince anyone, people simply feel it. And when a woman feels it, her attraction skyrockets. Think about it. Why does a woman glow with pride when she's with a man that other people respect? Why does she feel secure when she sees other men defer to him? It's not just vanity, it's survival. Her instincts tell her, this man has power in the tribe. This man is respected by others. This man can secure resources and protection. Even if she's modern, independent, wealthy, it doesn't matter. Instinct is still coded in her DNA. And when you embody status not through fakery, but through true masculine presence, she can't help but feel it. She can't help but respect you. But status alone isn't enough. Because the 7th vulnerability is far more dangerous. It's the one that turns your own words into weapons you can use without raising your voice. I call it the vulnerability of self-contradiction. Women speak constantly about their values. They say, I hate liars, or loyalty is the most important thing, or I can't stand being ignored. These declarations aren't random. They're part of the image they want to project not only to others, but to themselves. But here's the thing. Human beings, women especially, rarely act in perfect alignment with their stated values. They contradict themselves constantly. And when you are the man who remembers those contradictions and reflects them back to her calmly, without anger, you trigger something she cannot resist. Cognitive dissonance. Imagine she once told you, honesty means everything to me. But later you catch her hiding something small, maybe a white lie, maybe an inconsistency. Most men either explode in anger or ignore it entirely. Both responses are weak. What you do instead is far more subtle. You look her in the eyes, completely calm, and you say, you told me honesty was the most important thing to you. How does this fit with what you just did? Silence. Her brain locks up. She feels exposed. Not because you attacked her, but because you mirrored her own words back to her. And in that instant, she realizes you see her more clearly than anyone else. This is Machiavellian because you are not raising your voice, not pleading, not accusing. You are holding up a mirror to her contradictions. And here's the paradox. While this makes her uncomfortable, it also makes her respect you more. Because most men never pay attention at this level. Most men let inconsistencies slide. You don't. You're the rare man who listens so closely that her own words become her leash. And that attention, that detailed observation, creates both fear and attraction. Fear, because she knows she can't fool you. Attraction, because she knows you're the one man who sees her clearly. Now, when you combine the status aura with the power of reflecting her contradictions, you've already risen above almost every man she's ever encountered. But there's another vulnerability that ties everything together, and it's one that few men ever master. The eighth vulnerability, the scarcity of true masculine energy. We live in an age where masculinity has been watered down. Most men are insecure, indecisive, constantly chasing approval, terrified of making bold moves. They've lost the ability to lead, to stand firm, to embody that primal energy that women secretly crave. And so when a woman encounters a man who radiates true masculine presence, it's like stumbling upon water in the desert. It's rare, it's refreshing, and it's addictive. But let's be clear. Masculine energy does not mean aggression, arrogance, or toxic dominance. That's just posturing. Real masculine energy is calm strength. It's the ability to make decisions without hesitation. It's the unshakable sense of, I've got this, without needing to announce it. It's the centeredness that remains steady whether she's laughing or screaming, whether life is smooth or chaotic. A man with masculine energy does not waver. He doesn't seek validation. He doesn't crumble when tested. He's the axis around which the storm spins, and yet he remains unbroken. Women feel this energy instantly. They lean into it without even realizing it. It activates their deepest femininity. Suddenly she feels more feminine, more drawn to you, because your energy creates the polarity her instincts crave. In a world where most men are weak, indecisive, and needy, the man with true masculine energy becomes magnetic. He doesn't chase, he attracts. He doesn't demand respect, commands it effortlessly. And once you embody this, you'll find women giving you more than you ever asked for, simply because their instincts compel them to. And finally, brother, we arrive at the ninth vulnerability, the one that ties everything together. The one that can make a woman abandon everything for you. The one that separates the boys from the men, the desperate from the powerful. It is your unwavering self-respect. This, above all, is the most potent weapon, because self-respect is the foundation of all attraction. Without it, everything else crumbles. With it, you become untouchable. Here's the brutal truth. Most men have no self-respect when it comes to women. They bend their standards, tolerate disrespect, sacrifice their dignity, all in the hope of keeping her, and in doing so, they kill her attraction. Because a woman can never respect a man who does not respect himself. Unwavering self-respect means you have standards that are non-negotiable. It means you are willing to walk away from anyone, even the most beautiful, desirable woman, if she disrespects you or violates those standards. It means you never beg, never plead, never trade your dignity for her attention. Because you know that your value is intrinsic, not dependent on her approval. And here said the paradox. When a woman realizes you are the man who can walk away, her respect for you multiplies. Because she understands, consciously or not, that you are the prize, not her. Picture this. She tests you, pushes your boundaries, maybe even disrespects you in a moment of drama. Most men would cave, apologize, chase after her to make it right. You don't. You remain calm. You look her in the eye and say, I don't accept this. That's how it's going to be? I'm out. And then you mean it. Not as a manipulation, not as a bluff, but as a fact. Suddenly, the entire dynamic shifts. She realizes she cannot control you. She realizes that keeping you is not guaranteed. And from that moment, you stop being just another man in her life. You've become the man she values above all others. Because she knows that being with you is not a right. It's a privilege. And this, brother, is the ultimate Machiavellian truth. The man who respects himself above all else will always command the deepest respect, desire, and devotion from women, because self-respect is magnetic. It signals strength, independence, and unshakable value. It tells her that you are not desperate, that you do not need her, that you choose her. And choice is always more powerful than need. Now let's tie it all together. From her addiction to validation, to the obsession of uncertainty, to the emotional mirror and fear of replacement, to her need for emotional security, her sensitivity to status, her contradictions, her craving for masculine energy, and finally, your unwavering self-respect. You now hold in your hands the 9 vulnerabilities Machiavelli would have weaponized in the modern game of love. But here's the most important lesson of all. These are not cheap tricks. They are not manipulations to toy with women for your amusement. They are principles of natural attraction, rooted in psychology, biology, and human instinct. And when you use them with integrity, they don't just give you power over women. They transform you into the man you were meant to be. Because the truth is, the real prize is not winning a woman's attention. The real prize is becoming the kind of man who never has to beg for it. The man whose presence is magnetic, whose respect is unquestionable, whose energy is unshakable. That is what these vulnerabilities are teaching you. Not how to manipulate others, but how to elevate yourself into the rare category of men that women cannot resist. So the question is, what kind of man do you want to be? The desperate one, lost in the crowd, begging for validation and drowning in predictability. Or the Machiavellian.com/magnetic, self-respecting, a force that women instinctively pursue. The choice, brother, has always been yours. And remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Use these strategies not to hurt, not to play games, but to build connections that are strong, authentic, and lasting. Because in the end, the greatest seduction is not about control. It's about mastery. Mastery of yourself, mastery of your presence, mastery of your respect. And when you embody that, you won't just attract women, you'll attract a life of power, respect, and fulfillment that no one can take away.